If you want a drum kit that you can just open up and it's like smacking with bottom end, is slamming with the point on the kick, like, yeah, right away, I don't know many instruments that are that inclusive of all of those things. Are there other instruments that might sound like the 40's very own keys? Sure there are. But is there any other instrument that has that collection of that many sounds that I am passionately in love with together in one location? No. This is the stuff that I really love, that I'm looking for. When I open up any synth, any VST, I'm looking for my pads, I'm looking for my leads, I'm looking for my keys. I want to see sort of what's there in that, you know, chord space for me, because that's where I exist as an artist and a producer. My name is 40, or Noah 40 Shebib is my full name. We are at SOTA Studios in Toronto, Canada. So I mean, as far as creating the actual 40's very own keys and 40's very own drums, I mean, to start with the keys, it was a pretty intense process. We start by collecting all these sources now. That's the first step. We need all the sources we can get our hands on that are obviously created by me and the engineers here in the building and our team. So we're recording everything, whether it's the Steinway on the floor, or it's, you know, different electric pianos that I have in the building, or it's synthesis from some classic synthesizers. So now you have all your sources. Now you've got to start pairing them together, putting two sources together to get an A-B mix, to get more dynamic character, timbre out of your instrument. Then we start adding macros and even more effects now, verbs, delays, chorus, flange, whatever the case is from inside of Kontakt within the instrument. So it's like a multi-step process, and then by the time you get to the end, you know, I had these like really incredibly beautiful sounds that I was just like, wow, this is awesome. It sounds different. I don't know anything else that necessarily sounds exactly like this. Okay, so my favorite category to start in is always going to be like some form of keys, pianos, and pads. And the first patch in here, or the first preset, is called 40's PWO piano. And like, yeah, I love those tones right away. If I'm searching for sounds and I hear that one, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's good. I'm gonna start there. Like, I like that one. And right away, when you start just tabbing through them or flipping through, or if you're on the browser here, like, it doesn't matter, they all sound ill. So I'm just like, oh yeah, it's perfect, good, next, you know? I'm gonna deliver a document along with the installer for 40's very own keys that's gonna give like sort of my quick opinion on how I would approach playing every single patch in the instrument. So whether that's like, yo, I'd play this with like a chord up top with like a supporting root note down low, or I'd play like a couple notes down low with like a lead line up top, like, I like to break those rules. So some of these sounds were actually created to break those rules as well. So you might be like, this one sounds weird down here, but if you look at my manifest, you'll see that I say, like, you know, play up top if you're gonna play polyphonic, and play monophonic notes down low. That's where it's gonna sound great. Ooh, I love that. So both of them are equipped with a 40 knob, which is basically just a pot that is controlling a collection of effects together at one time, which I traditionally would use on, or do use on, all of my productions in essence. Producers like to overproduce things and go crazy, so this sort of like lets me like overproduce a little bit without anyone actually hearing it. I always will tip my hat to Drake here. Like, I've created a sound with lo-fi, with low pass filters, with frequency removal or sample rate reduction, and, you know, was able to create space with these things. It's nothing new. Jay Dilla was doing that back in the day, right? Filtering samples to create different sections of a song, just creating more dynamic, getting more more reach out of one sample, right? Making it go further by affecting it in different ways. So if I go somewhere else or I add something that's really bright in the music, you'll hear where that knob can do a lot more damage in a good way. Even if I change this to the Cambridge Legion, it's got a lot more crispiness to it. Yeah, there you go. Ooh, I kind of like that too. Yeah, I like that. So like that space there, you know, you can really like float on top of that. And then when I want to open it back up, I can like sort of reveal everything that's there for a whole other section. Musically, I was creating space by removing top end. If I took out all that transient that was happening in the top end with hi-hats and percussive instruments and dumbed it down to the bottom end, that let Drake or the artist, which I pretty much only work with Drake, exist above those things as a focal point. So now Drake's sitting here and all the music is sitting down here because it's been filtered out or its sample rate's been reduced or the harmonics, whatever I've done. So that's what the 40 knob is recreating. And so again, when you talk about 40's very own keys, those sounds are kind of already designed to create space for the artist. Like that's really my mantra as a producer. So the drum instrument I approached a little bit differently. I'm the opposite of probably every hip hop producer out there, where they all are gonna start with the drums. Like almost all of them start with the drums. I mean, that's what defines producers in my genre, right? Dr. Dre is defined by his drums. Timbaland's defined by his drums. Once you find your niche as a producer in your drum sounds and the way you program or what your swing is, that sort of defines you. Whereas for me, I try to rewrite that method every single time. Like I try to approach my drums differently. I'm a minimalistic drum programmer. I often use one kick and one tom. That's what I program with. So the way I put the drum series together was to mix it essentially, so you have like an incredibly quality mixed kit. My goal was to make some really cool sounds that are great uniquely, individually, and can play their position and their part and sound just like at a really high level mix-wise. So the kicks are like pointy and have huge bottom end on them. The bass subs are like rumbling, but they fit together with the kick that's in that kit. That's what I want my kick sounding like on a record. I mix the bottom end with harmonic enhancement to the point where I'm like, that's enough 30 hertz for me, check. You know, I mix 30 hertz. I mix 40 hertz. That's where my spikes are in my EQs. Everyone wants to talk about 60 hertz 808. 60 is way too high for me. I need to feel 30. I need 40. I don't care if your speakers can reproduce it. Those harmonics seep in and you feel it in your heart. That's what I was trying to achieve with 40's very own drums, and I'm pretty confident that I did. When it came to doing the drum instrument sources, we did like a collection of synthesis stuff where we just dialed in some cool synths for bottom end and some harmonics on the low end, mixed with like random eclectic group of things in the studio. Everything from live drummers to random instruments like Habibi's hookahs. Adding a hookah to any patch is an incredible thing, may I add. I mean, yeah, whatever we could find in the building, you know, Les's random jars of screws and razor blades and just, who knows what's in that machine room. So just like finding cool stuff to make percussive sounds with. So for the visual aspects of the instrument, I work with my really close friend KWEST, who's a graffiti writer and sculptor and artist. He actually helped design some of the GUI, which is graphical user interface, how we're going to experience them as a user, right? How we're going to interface with them. The drum build is my studio, the keys build is my home. I really wanted it to represent the studio because I'm so passionate about this place. You know, this really defines me. And I think because all the sound sources came from here, it was important to like represent it as well. pretty much that, like abstract, random, and fast for me to make music. And like even how I made not a mistake, but like if you look at the MIDI here, I started up after I hit play. Like, I'd probably leave it. You know, it's just honest. Like I'd start it like that, you know? I'd start it like that just because, I don't know, sometimes I like those little mistakes or things that are wrong, or just, as I said, like honest and raw, you know? But like there it is, like that's my process, you know? There's not much more to that. I find like a nice pad, I find my drums, and immediately like I go to this place. Like if unchecked, if I'm left alone, like I go here, you know? Ever since we finished creating the builds for both the 40's very own keys and the 40's very own drums, it's kind of funny, my process has gotten a lot faster because I'm spending much less time dialing in sounds, effects, making them unique, because they're not as much unique as my style and what I'm looking for. So I have this like group of keys and patches now where I'm just like, oh yeah, I love that, love that, love that, love that. Okay, cool, boom. And like I'll make a beat with every single one. I'm pretty sure I used it on Drake's Wants and Needs, featuring Lil Baby, which we put out last year. And I'm almost positive it made an appearance on Certified Lover Boy as well. I'm using it on everything I touch right now. It's sort of my starting point at this juncture. Probably safe to say it'll appear on like every single one of my productions moving forward. I don't think that's a far-fetched statement for me to make. I know there's a lot of people who want to recreate the sound that I'm, you know, been deemed responsible for, but I guess I'm trying to show the world too, like, anyone can do this. It's not rocket science, and here's how I do it. And maybe people will take away from that some more confidence in their own process and how they approach things, or maybe their response is like, that's it? Like, yeah, that's it. You know, like, it's not about that, it's about what you're gonna do with it. So I'm just excited to see how people use these tools ultimately.